The unexpected hero. Jumel's eyes fluttered open, squinting against the harsh morning light that filtered through the cracks of the park's old trees. The park bench where he had spent the night was as unforgiving as ever, its hard surface leaving his back aching and his bones cold. Around him, the other homeless inhabitants of the park were stirring, each one preparing for another day of survival on the unforgiving streets of New York City. The hustle and bustle of the city had a way of ignoring them, an invisible barrier between their struggles and the world's daily rush. Jumel sat up slowly, his thin frame swathed in a tattered coat that had seen better days. He glanced around at the sea of well-dressed individuals passing by, each one seemingly oblivious to the hardships faced by those like him. The morning was crisp, with a bite in the air that made his breath visible as it escaped in small puffs. The world felt cold, not just because of the temperature, but because of the indifference that surrounded him. As he observed the rushing crowds, Jumel's stomach growled in protest. Hunger was a constant companion, gnawing at him with an insistent persistence. He decided to move, shuffling towards a nearby alley where he hoped to find something to eat. The alley was a place where discarded remnants of the day's consumerism gathered, and Jumel had become adept at scavenging for anything that might be edible. His fingers, calloused and dirty, rifled through the contents of a garbage can. But there was little of value, just the usual mix of half-eaten food and discarded packaging. Suddenly, the sharp, panicked screams of a child pierced the air, cutting through the ambient noise of the city like a knife. Jumel's head snapped up, his senses instantly alert. Without a second thought, he abandoned his search and sprinted towards the source of the commotion. His worn shoes slapped against the pavement as he ran, the adrenaline masking the cold and fatigue that had become his constant companions. The park's lake came into view, and the scene that greeted him was one of chaos. A young boy was flailing in the water, his small frame struggling against the strong current that threatened to pull him under. People on the shore were shouting, their hands pointing towards the drowning child, but no one seemed to be taking action. Panic had paralyzed them, leaving the boy's fate hanging precariously in the balance. Jumel's instincts kicked in. He kicked off his shoes and dove into the frigid water. The shock of the cold hit him like a jolt, but he pushed through, fighting against the current that tugged at his clothes and tried to drag him down. Each stroke was a battle, but Jumel's determination propelled him forward. He reached the boy, who was splashing and screaming, his tiny body trembling with fear. "It's okay. I got you," Jumel called out, his voice steady despite the strain of keeping both himself and the child afloat. The boy, frightened and disoriented, struggled against Jumel's grip. Jumel held him tightly, whispering reassurances as he fought to make headway against the current. The shore seemed distant, and every moment felt like an eternity. With great effort, Jumel managed to maneuver them both towards the shore. The crowd had grown larger, their collective anxiety turning into a frenzied roar as they reached out to help. Jumel pushed the boy towards the outstretched hands, his own strength waning. As the boy was pulled from the water, Jumel allowed himself to be helped out, collapsing onto the grass, gasping for air. The cold had seeped into his bones, and his entire body was shaking from exertion. The crowd's reaction was a mix of awe and disbelief. News vans arrived almost immediately, reporters jostling for position to capture the story of the homeless hero. Cameras flashed and microphones were shoved in Jumel's face. He was suddenly thrust into the spotlight, a stark contrast to the invisibility he had experienced just moments before. Amidst the chaos, a sleek black car pulled up, its arrival causing a stir among the onlookers. David Thompson, a well-known tech magnate and the father of the rescued boy, emerged from the car. His face was etched with worry and relief. He pushed through the crowd, his eyes locking onto Jumel with a mixture of gratitude and emotion. David grasped Jumel's hand, his voice thick with tears as he expressed his profound thanks. "You saved my son's life," David said, his words broadcast live across local channels. "I can never repay you for what you've done." Jumel, still shivering and overwhelmed by this sudden attention, nodded silently. He wasn't used to being noticed, let alone praised. David, sensing Jumel's discomfort, made an unexpected offer. "Please come stay at my home. It's the least I can do." Jumel hesitated, his eyes darting between David's earnest face and the imposing car behind him. The prospect of entering the world of a wealthy individual made him uneasy. He was acutely aware of his appearance, the vast gulf between their worlds, and the potential judgment he might face. Despite his reservations, Jumel found himself accepting the invitation. It was a chance at something he hadn't dared to dream of, a way out of the cycle of survival that had become his life. That evening, Jumel found himself in an environment that was both surreal and overwhelming. David's home was a marvel of luxury, with a dining table laden with more food than Jumel had seen in months. Crystal glasses, fine china, and a lavish spread of dishes formed a stark contrast to his usual meals scavenged from dumpsters. The other dinner guests, friends and associates of David, cast curious glances his way. Some smiled encouragingly, while others failed to hide their disdain. As the evening wore on, Jumel struggled to navigate the unfamiliar social terrain. The polite conversation and subtle etiquette felt foreign, like a different language he had yet to master. Despite his discomfort, a glimmer of hope began to flicker within him. For the first time in years, he had a roof over his head and a full stomach. It was a start, a small beacon of possibility in the midst of uncertainty. Bridging worlds, the days following the rescue were a whirlwind for Jumel. The media frenzy around him eventually subsided, but the impact of that day continued to ripple through his life. The grandeur of David Thompson's home, with its sprawling rooms and opulent furnishings, was a far cry from the cramped, unforgiving spaces he had been accustomed to. Jumel tried to adjust to this new reality, but the transition was anything but smooth. Each morning began with the clinking of fine china and the soft murmur of conversation from the household staff. Jumel's new routine included breakfast in a sunlit dining room that felt almost like a museum piece. The array of food was always abundant: fresh fruits, pastries, and hot dishes that seemed to sparkle with their own light. Despite the luxury, Jumel found himself struggling with the etiquette of it all. He was not used to the delicacy of using utensils, the art of proper table manners, or the polite conversation that flowed around him. It was as if he was playing a role he had never been trained for. David's home was filled with an array of activities and interactions that Jumel had never encountered. The Thompsons had a regular schedule of social gatherings, charity events, and high-profile meetings. Each event was a spectacle of opulence, where the elite of New York City mingled with a grace and ease that Jumel found both fascinating and intimidating. He often found himself standing at the periphery, observing the interactions with a mixture of awe and apprehension. One evening, David invited Jumel to a charity gala he was hosting. The event was held in a grand ballroom, its high ceilings adorned with glittering chandeliers and its floor covered in intricate patterns of polished marble. The room was filled with elegantly dressed guests, their laughter and conversation creating a lively buzz. Jumel, in a borrowed suit that felt like a second skin, stood out among the crowd, not because of his attire but because of his presence, an outsider in a world of affluence. As the evening progressed, Jumel found himself cornered by a group of David's business associates. Their questions, though polite, were probing and invasive. They wanted to know about his past, his experiences on the streets, and how he felt about his sudden change in fortune. Jumel answered as best he could, but the feeling of being under a microscope was uncomfortable. The whispers and sidelong glances from the guests only amplified his sense of unease. Despite these challenges, Jumel began to find moments of solace. His interactions with David's son, Tyler, were particularly comforting. Tyler, a bright and inquisitive teenager, seemed to take an interest in Jumel's background and experiences. They spent hours talking about various topics from video games to movies, and Tyler's openness provided Jumel with a sense of normalcy amidst the chaos. One afternoon, Tyler invited Jumel to join him in his room. The space was a typical teenager's haven, filled with posters of bands, stacks of books, and gaming consoles. They settled into comfortable beanbags, and Tyler offered Jumel a controller. "Let's play," Tyler suggested, his eyes twinkling with enthusiasm. As they played, Tyler opened up about his own life. "You know," he began, "sometimes I wish I wasn't David's son. It feels like everyone expects me to be perfect all the time, like I have this image to live up to." Tyler's confession was unexpected, and Jumel found himself relating more than he anticipated. They both carried burdens, though they were vastly different in nature. Their conversations became a regular occurrence. Jumel found a sense of camaraderie with Tyler that eased his loneliness. Tyler's friendship was a lifeline, helping him to cope with the overwhelming nature of his new environment. It was through these moments of connection that Jumel started to feel like he belonged, even if just a little. David, recognizing Jumel's struggles, began to introduce him to new opportunities. One day, he invited Jumel to join him in his home office, a sleek, modern space filled with the latest technology. David, noticing Jumel's curiosity, began to teach him about the world of coding and programming. "You have a natural talent for this," David remarked one evening as Jumel worked through a complex algorithm. "Have you ever considered a career in technology?" Jumel was taken aback. The world of technology had always seemed distant, something reserved for people far removed from his reality. But David's encouragement ignited a spark of interest. Jumel poured himself into learning, finding solace and purpose in the structured world of coding. The complexities of programming provided a welcome distraction from his past and a tangible pathway to a future he had never envisioned. As Jumel became more proficient, he found himself immersed in projects that challenged and excited him. David's mentorship was instrumental in this process, and Jumel's confidence began to grow. He started to dream of possibilities, of building something meaningful, of creating something that could make a difference. Yet even as Jumel's skills developed, he continued to grapple with the weight of his past. Memories of his family and the circumstances that had led him to the streets were ever present, often surfacing in quiet moments of solitude. The contrast between his past life and his current situation was stark, and the trauma he had endured felt more pronounced in the comfort of his new surroundings. Despite these internal battles, Jamal remained determined to make the most of this opportunity. The support from David, Tyler's friendship, and his growing passion for technology were sources of hope and motivation. Jamal's journey was just beginning, and the path ahead was uncertain. But with each day, he inched closer to bridging the gap between his past and his future, finding strength in the connections he made and the dreams he dared to pursue. The crossroads of change. As the weeks turned into months, Jamal's life began to stabilize in ways he had never imagined. The stark contrast between his previous existence on the streets and his current situation in the Thompson household was both exhilarating and disorienting. The grandiosity of the Thompson home, with its meticulously maintained gardens and luxurious interiors, felt like a world apart from the gritty reality Jamal had known. The daily rhythm of his new life involved a delicate dance between adapting to the opulence around him and maintaining his sense of self. Each day, Jamal woke up in a guest room that had become his sanctuary, a plush private space filled with comfort he had rarely experienced. Mornings were spent in the kitchen, where Jamal savored breakfast alongside David and Tyler, their conversations gradually becoming more familiar and less strained. One of the greatest challenges Jamal faced was reconciling his past with his present. The transition from the streets to a life of affluence was not just a change in surroundings, but also in his own identity. The judgmental stares from household staff and some of David's acquaintances made him acutely aware of the socioeconomic chasm that separated him from the world he now inhabited. He could feel the weight of their scrutiny, an invisible barrier that reminded him of his outsider status. Despite these challenges, Jamal threw himself into his work with renewed vigor. David's encouragement had been a powerful catalyst, sparking a passion for technology that Jamal had never anticipated. The world of coding and programming offered him a sense of purpose and accomplishment. Each line of code he wrote felt like a step towards a future where he could control his own destiny. David's mentorship was instrumental in this process. He introduced Jamal to various projects, each one more complex and rewarding than the last. Jamal's natural aptitude for technology was evident, and David's praise became a source of immense pride. For the first time in years, Jamal felt that he was achieving something of value, a stark contrast to the years of struggle and obscurity he had known. Yet, amid the progress and new opportunities, Jamal could not escape the shadows of his past. The trauma he had endured was not easily forgotten. The memories of his family, the loss, and the circumstances that had led him to the streets continued to haunt him. These recollections were often accompanied by nightmares that left him gasping for air in the middle of the night. The contrast between his past life and his current situation was a constant reminder of the journey he had endured. One evening, as Jamal sat alone in his guest room, he found himself reflecting on his journey. The room was quiet, the only sound being the distant hum of the city outside. He glanced at the framed photographs on the wall, each one a symbol of a life he had left behind. The transition from the streets to this room had been monumental, but the emotional and psychological adjustments were ongoing. His thoughts were interrupted by a knock on the door. It was Tyler, holding a gaming console and a tentative smile. "Hey, I thought we could use a break from coding," Tyler said. "Want to play some games?" Jamal welcomed the distraction. The comfort of Tyler's friendship and the shared enjoyment of video games provided a temporary escape from the weight of his thoughts. They spent the evening immersed in virtual worlds, their laughter and banter a welcome reprieve from the gravity of Jamal's internal struggles. Tyler's presence was a source of comfort, but it also highlighted the differences between their worlds. Despite their shared interests, Jamal felt the divide between them, a divide that was both tangible and emotional. The ease with which Tyler navigated his privileged life contrasted sharply with Jamal's ongoing efforts to fit in and overcome his past. One day, David invited Jamal to accompany him on a business trip. The opportunity to see a different facet of David's world was both exciting and intimidating. The trip involved visiting a high-tech company where David was a key investor. Jamal was eager to experience the industry he had been learning about, but he also felt a sense of trepidation about stepping further into David's professional world. The visit was eye-opening. The office space was a hub of innovation, filled with cutting-edge technology and dynamic professionals. Jamal was introduced to several industry leaders, and David's reputation as a prominent figure in the tech world was evident in the respect and admiration he commanded. Jamal's presence was a curiosity to some, a topic of discussion that felt both intriguing and invasive. David's colleagues were polite but clearly interested in Jamal's story. The questions they asked were probing, and Jamal found himself recounting his past more frequently than he had anticipated. The experience was both a validation of his progress and a reminder of the disparity between his old life and his new one. Throughout the trip, Jamal couldn't help but reflect on the choices he had made and the path he was on. The contrast between the high-tech world he was being introduced to and the harsh realities of his past was a stark reminder of the journey he had undergone. The sense of accomplishment he felt in the tech world was tempered by the awareness of the challenges that still lay ahead. Back at the Thompson residence, Jamal continued to focus on his coding projects. His progress was steady and David's support was unwavering. Yet, the emotional weight of his past continued to be a significant part of his life. Jamal found himself grappling with the duality of his existence, celebrating the successes of his new life while wrestling with the remnants of his old one. One evening, as he sat at his desk working on a particularly challenging coding problem, David came in to check on him. "How's it going?" David asked, his tone supportive. Jamal paused and looked up. "It's going well, but sometimes it feels like I'm caught between two worlds. It's hard to shake off the past." David nodded thoughtfully. "It's natural to feel that way. But remember, the past doesn't define who you are now. It's part of your story, but it doesn't have to control your future." David's words resonated with Jamal. They provided a glimmer of hope and a reminder that the path he was on was one of transformation. The journey from homelessness to a promising career in technology was not just a physical transition, but also an emotional one. As Jamal continued to navigate his new life, he remained committed to embracing the opportunities before him while acknowledging and addressing the challenges of his past. The road ahead was uncertain, but with each day, Jamal was forging a new identity, one that bridged the gap between his past struggles and his future aspirations. The struggle within. The sun rose on another crisp morning, casting a golden hue over the sprawling Thompson estate. Jamal had settled into a routine of waking up early and starting his day with a sense of purpose. The comfort of his guest room, now adorned with a few personal touches, was a stark contrast to the harsh realities of his previous life. Yet, beneath the surface of this newfound stability, Jamal grappled with an ongoing internal struggle. His work with David had become a central part of his life. Each day, he delved deeper into the world of coding, tackling increasingly complex projects. The exhilaration of solving intricate problems and creating functional software was a welcome distraction from his past. David's mentorship was invaluable, and Jamal was making tangible progress. His skills were improving, and he was beginning to dream of a future where he could make a significant impact in the tech industry. Despite these advancements, Jamal's past continued to cast a long shadow. The trauma he had endured was not easily erased, and the memories of his former life often intruded upon his moments of peace. His nightmares were a constant reminder of the pain he had experienced, and the contrast between his current success and his past suffering was a source of internal conflict. One evening, after a particularly grueling day at work, Jamal found himself in the living room staring at the flickering flames of the fireplace. The room was quiet, save for the gentle crackling of the fire. He was alone, and the solitude gave him space to reflect on his journey. The grandeur of the Thompson home, with its elegant decor and comfortable furnishings, felt both comforting and alien. His thoughts were interrupted by a knock on the door. Tyler entered, his expression a mix of concern and curiosity. "Hey, you seemed a bit off today," Tyler said, sitting down across from Jamal. "Everything okay?" Jamal hesitated before responding. "I've been having these nightmares again. It's like my past is catching up with me, even though I'm trying so hard to move forward." Tyler's eyes softened with empathy. "I can't imagine how hard that must be. But you're not alone in this. You've come so far and you've made a difference in so many ways." The conversation was a small but significant comfort. Tyler's support had been a steady presence in Jamal's life, and their friendship was a source of strength. Yet Jamal couldn't shake the feeling that he was still fighting an internal battle that was not easily won. David, too, noticed Jamal's struggle. During one of their work sessions, David approached him with a concerned expression. "Jamal, I've seen you working tirelessly, but I also sense that something's weighing on you. Is everything all right?" Jamal looked up from his computer, his fingers hovering over the keyboard. "It's just, sometimes it feels like I'm not moving forward. Like no matter how much I accomplish, there's always this nagging feeling of inadequacy." David nodded thoughtfully. "I understand. But remember, progress is not always linear. It's okay to have moments of doubt. What matters is that you keep moving forward and seek support when you need it." David's words were both comforting and challenging. They serve as a reminder that Jamal's journey was a continuous process, with its own set of ups and downs. A struggle within was part of the larger journey, and acknowledging it was an important step towards overcoming it. As Jamal continued to work on his projects, he began to explore new ways to cope with his internal struggles. He started attending therapy sessions, seeking professional help to address the trauma he had experienced. The sessions were both enlightening and challenging as they forced Jamal to confront aspects of his past that he had long suppressed. The therapy sessions provided Jamal with tools to manage his anxiety and nightmares. He learned techniques to ground himself in the present and to reframe his thoughts. The process was not easy, and there were days when it felt like he was taking one step forward and two steps back. But with each session, Jamal gained a deeper understanding of himself and began to build resilience. The support of David and Tyler continued to be crucial in Jamal's journey. David remained a steadfast mentor, providing guidance and encouragement as Jamal navigated both his professional and personal challenges. Tyler's friendship offered a sense of normalcy and understanding, a reminder that he was not alone in his struggles. One day, David invited Jamal to a charity event focused on mental health awareness. The event was held at a prestigious venue, and it aimed to raise funds and awareness for mental health support services. Jamal was initially hesitant about attending, feeling that his own struggles were too personal to share in such a public setting. However, David encouraged him to participate, emphasizing the importance of breaking the stigma surrounding mental health. At the event, Jamal found himself surrounded by individuals who had their own stories of struggle and resilience. The speakers shared their experiences with bravery and honesty, and the atmosphere was one of solidarity and support. Jamal listened intently, finding inspiration in the stories of others who had faced their own battles. As the evening progressed, Jamal found the courage to speak about his own experiences. Standing in front of the audience, he shared his journey from homelessness to his current life, acknowledging the challenges he had faced and the progress he had made. The response from the audience was overwhelmingly positive, and Jamal felt a sense of relief and empowerment. The event was a turning point for Jamal. It marked a moment of acceptance and a recognition of the importance of addressing mental health openly. He realized that his journey was not just about overcoming his past, but also about using his experiences to contribute to a greater cause. In the days that followed, Jamal continued to focus on his work, his therapy, and his personal growth. The internal struggle remained, but he felt more equipped to handle it. The support of David, Tyler, and the therapy sessions provided him with a sense of stability and hope. Jamal's journey was far from over, and the path ahead was still uncertain. But with each step, he was learning to bridge the gap between his past and his future. The struggle within was a part of his story, but it did not define him. He was moving forward, finding strength in his challenges and hope in the possibilities that lay ahead. The road to redemption. As the seasons changed, so did Jamal's life. The initial euphoria of his new opportunities had settled into a routine, and with it came both stability and new challenges. The Thompson household had become a place of refuge and growth, but the road to true redemption was not without its obstacles. Jamal's work in technology continued to flourish. His skills were improving, and he was gaining recognition for his contributions to various projects. David's mentorship had been pivotal in this journey, but Jamal was starting to feel a desire to forge his own path. He wanted to apply the skills he had developed in a way that could make a broader impact beyond just the tech industry. One afternoon, as Jamal was working on a new project, he received an email that caught his attention. It was an invitation to speak at a tech conference about his journey from homelessness to a career in technology. The opportunity to share his story with a wider audience was both exciting and nerve-wracking. Jamal saw it as a chance to inspire others and to highlight the potential for transformation and growth. David was supportive of Jamal's decision to accept the invitation. "This is a great opportunity," David said during one of their meetings. "Your story can motivate others who are facing their own challenges. It's a chance to show that change is possible, no matter where you start." As Jamal prepared for the conference, he found himself reflecting on his journey with a renewed sense of clarity. The process of crafting his speech forced him to revisit his past experiences, but it also allowed him to recognize how far he had come. He wanted his message to be one of hope and resilience, emphasizing that setbacks and struggles could be overcome with determination and support. The day of the conference arrived, and Jamal found himself standing on stage before a large audience. The venue was packed with industry professionals, students, and enthusiasts. The sight of so many faces looking up at him was both intimidating and exhilarating. Jamal took a deep breath and began to speak. He shared his story with honesty and vulnerability, recounting the hardships he had faced on the streets, the impact of the rescue, and his journey of adaptation and growth. He spoke about the importance of mentorship, the power of technology to create opportunities, and the role of mental health in overcoming adversity. The response from the audience was overwhelmingly positive. Jamal's words resonated with many, and the applause and encouragement he received were a testament to the power of his story. For the first time, Jamal felt a sense of fulfillment that went beyond personal achievement. He was making a difference, not just for himself, but for others who might be struggling. In the weeks following the conference, Jamal's life took on new dimensions. His public speaking engagement opened doors to various opportunities, including mentorship programs and collaborations with organizations focused on supporting underprivileged communities. Jamal was invited to work with a nonprofit organization that aimed to provide technology training and career opportunities to marginalized youth. The role was both challenging and rewarding. Jamal was now in a position to give back, using his experiences and skills to help others who were in situations similar to what he had once faced. The work was fulfilling, and it provided him with a renewed sense of purpose. He was able to see firsthand the impact of his efforts on young people who were eager to learn and build better futures for themselves. David's support remained unwavering. He continued to mentor Jamal and provided guidance as Jamal navigated his new responsibilities. Their relationship had evolved from one of mentor and mentee to one of mutual respect and friendship. David recognized Jamal's potential and was proud of the strides he had made. Despite the progress, Jamal still faced moments of doubt and insecurity. The shadows of his past occasionally loomed large, and the emotional scars from his experiences were not easily erased. There were days when the weight of his previous struggles felt overwhelming, and Jamal had to remind himself of the progress he had made and the strength he had gained. One evening, as Jamal was working on a new initiative for the nonprofit organization, he received a phone call from his old friend, Marcus. Marcus had been a significant part of Jamal's life before he became homeless, and their friendship had endured despite the challenges Jamal had faced. "Jamal, I heard about what you've been doing," Marcus said, his voice filled with admiration. "I just wanted to say how proud I am of you. You've come a long way, and you're making a real difference." The call was a poignant reminder of the journey Jamal had undertaken. Marcus's words were a source of comfort, reinforcing that his efforts were recognized and valued. It was moments like these that helped Jamal to stay grounded and focused on his goals. As the year drew to a close, Jamal reflected on the progress he had made. The challenges had been significant, but they had also been instrumental in shaping his character and defining his path. He had found a new sense of purpose through his work with the nonprofit organization, and his role as a mentor and advocate was a testament to his resilience and determination. Jamal's journey was far from complete. The road to redemption was ongoing, and there were still obstacles to overcome and goals to achieve. However, he had made significant strides in building a new life for himself, and he was committed to continuing his work and making a positive impact on others. As he looked ahead, Jamal felt a renewed sense of hope and determination. The struggles of his past had not defined him, but they had shaped him into a person who was capable of making a difference. The road to redemption was a continuous journey, but with each step, Jamal was forging a path towards a brighter future, one that was filled with purpose, compassion, and the promise of a new beginning. A new horizon. As the new year began, Jamal found himself at a crossroads. His transition from homelessness to becoming a prominent figure in technology and advocacy had been remarkable, but the path forward was still evolving. The balance between his past and his future had become a central theme in his life, and he was determined to make the most of the opportunities before him. The nonprofit organization that Jamal was working with had seen significant growth thanks to his contributions. His efforts to provide technology training and career opportunities to underprivileged youth were making a tangible impact. The organization had launched several successful programs, and Jamal was deeply involved in their development. The work was challenging but immensely rewarding, and it reaffirmed his commitment to using his skills for the greater good. One morning, Jamal received an invitation to participate in a high-profile panel discussion on social entrepreneurship and the role of technology in creating social change. The event was to be held in Washington, D.C., and it promised to bring together leaders from various fields to discuss innovative solutions to societal issues. The invitation was both exciting and daunting, as it represented a significant step in Jamal's journey and a chance to further amplify his voice. David was supportive of Jamal's decision to participate in the panel. "This is a tremendous opportunity," David said during one of their conversations. "You've worked hard to get to this point, and your insights can make a real difference. Just be yourself and share your story honestly." As Jamal prepared for the panel discussion, he took time to reflect on his journey. The process of preparing his remarks forced him to revisit the core of his experiences, the challenges he had faced, the people who had supported him, and the lessons he had learned. He wanted his message to be one of hope and resilience, emphasizing the power of community and the importance of giving back. The day of the panel discussion arrived, and Jamal found himself in a grand conference hall in Washington, D.C. The venue was filled with influential figures, including policymakers, business leaders, and social activists. The atmosphere was charged with energy and anticipation, and Jamal felt a mixture of nervousness and excitement. As he took the stage, Jamal was greeted with a warm round of applause. He looked out at the audience, feeling a sense of connection with those who had gathered to hear his perspective. The panel discussion was moderated by a well-known journalist who introduced Jamal and his fellow panelists. The discussion covered a wide range of topics, from the challenges of social entrepreneurship to the role of technology in addressing systemic issues. Jamal spoke candidly about his journey, the impact of the nonprofit organization, and the importance of creating opportunities for marginalized communities. He shared his belief that technology could be a powerful tool for social change, but that it required a commitment to addressing the root causes of inequality. Throughout the discussion, Jamal's words resonated with the audience. His story of transformation and his vision for using technology to drive positive change were compelling and inspirational. The feedback he received was overwhelmingly positive, and the experience reinforced his belief in the power of his message. After the panel discussion, Jamal had the opportunity to network with other attendees. The connections he made were valuable, opening doors to new collaborations and partnerships. He spoke with individuals who shared his passion for social change and who were interested in supporting the nonprofit organization's initiatives. One of the key takeaways from the event was the realization of how far he had come. Jamal had transitioned from a life of uncertainty and struggle to becoming a voice for change in the tech community. The journey had been long and challenging, but it had also been filled with moments of growth and achievement. Returning to his work with the nonprofit organization, Jamal continued to focus on expanding its reach and impact. He collaborated with other organizations, developed new programs, and worked to secure additional funding. His dedication to the cause was evident, and he remained committed to helping young people overcome their own challenges and achieve their goals. In addition to his work with the nonprofit, Jamal also began to explore opportunities for further personal growth. He started to pursue additional education, enrolling in courses on leadership and social entrepreneurship. The goal was to enhance his skills and knowledge, enabling him to make an even greater impact in his field. Throughout this period of growth, Jamal remained grounded in his values. The experiences of his past continued to inform his approach to his work, and he was dedicated to ensuring that his efforts were driven by a genuine desire to help others. His journey was not just about personal success, but about creating a legacy of positive change. One evening, as Jamal sat in his office reflecting on his progress, he received a phone call from Tyler. "Hey, I've been thinking about how far you've come," Tyler said. "It's incredible to see the impact you're making. I'm really proud of you." Tyler's words were a reminder of the support system that had been crucial in Jamal's journey. Their friendship had been a source of strength, and the shared experiences had deepened their bond. As the year progressed, Jamal continued to navigate the complexities of his new life. The challenges were ongoing, but he approached them with a sense of purpose and resilience. The support of his friends, mentors, and the community provided him with the encouragement he needed to keep moving forward. Jamal's story was one of transformation, but it was also one of continuous evolution. The road to redemption was not a destination but a journey, one that involved ongoing growth, learning, and adaptation. Each step forward was a testament to his determination and the support he had received along the way. As he looked towards the future, Jamal was filled with a sense of hope and anticipation. The path ahead was still unfolding, but he was committed to embracing the opportunities and challenges that lay before him. His journey had been marked by resilience, courage, and the unwavering belief in the possibility of change. The horizon was filled with potential, and Jamal was ready to face it with a renewed sense of purpose. His story was a reminder that no matter where one begins, it is possible to forge a new path and make a meaningful impact. The road to redemption was a continuous journey, and Jamal was determined to continue moving forward, inspired by the possibilities of a brighter future. Bridging worlds. The dawn of the new year brought with it a fresh wave of opportunities and challenges for Jamal. His life, once defined by struggle and uncertainty, had transformed into one of purpose and impact. Yet, as he navigated his new role and responsibilities, he realized that bridging the worlds he had come from and the one he now inhabited was a task requiring both personal and professional effort. The nonprofit organization Jamal worked with had reached a significant milestone, a major initiative to establish a network of tech hubs across several underserved communities. This ambitious project aimed to provide access to technology, mentorship, and career opportunities to thousands of young people who, like Jamal once had, faced barriers to entry in the tech industry. Jamal was tasked with leading this initiative, a responsibility he embraced with enthusiasm and dedication. The launch event for the tech hubs was scheduled to take place in a few months, and preparations were in full swing. Jamal was deeply involved in the planning process, working closely with community leaders, tech industry professionals, and educators to ensure the project's success. The goal was to create spaces where young people could learn, collaborate, and innovate, opportunities that could transform their futures. Despite the excitement surrounding the initiative, Jamal found himself facing new challenges. The task of coordinating with multiple stakeholders, securing funding, and managing logistics was complex and demanding. There were moments when the pressure felt overwhelming, and Jamal struggled to balance the weight of his responsibilities with his personal life. One evening, after a particularly exhausting day, Jamal sat alone in his office, surrounded by stacks of paperwork and project plans. His mind was racing, and he felt the familiar pang of self-doubt. The contrast between his current role and his past life was stark, but the demands of the present were significant. Jamal knew he needed to find a way to manage the stress and maintain his focus. He decided to reach out to David for advice. David had been a constant source of support throughout Jamal's journey, and he trusted his mentor's perspective. They arranged to meet at a local cafe, a quiet spot where they could talk without distractions. As they settled into their seats, David observed Jamal's weary expression. "You look like you've been burning the candle at both ends," David said, his voice filled with concern. "What's going on?" Jamal sighed and took a sip of his coffee. "The project is moving forward, but the pressure is starting to get to me. There's so much at stake. and I'm worried that I won't be able to meet everyone's expectations. David nodded thoughtfully. It's natural to feel that way, especially with something as important as this. But remember, you've already achieved so much. It's okay to take a step back and reassess. Sometimes we need to find balance and take care of ourselves in order to be effective. The conversation with David was a turning point for Jamal. It reminded him of the importance of self-care and the need to manage stress. He realized that while his work was important, it was equally crucial to maintain his well-being and seek support when needed. Jamal began implementing changes to better manage his workload and reduce stress. He set aside time for regular exercise, meditation, and relaxation, finding that these activities helped him stay focused and energized. He also made a conscious effort to delegate tasks and seek assistance from his team, understanding that he didn't have to shoulder everything alone. The preparations for the tech hubs continued, and as the launch event approached, Jamal felt a renewed sense of optimism. The initiative had garnered significant support from various sectors, and the excitement in the communities was palpable. The tech hubs were more than just physical spaces. They represented a beacon of hope and opportunity for countless young individuals. On the day of the launch event, the atmosphere was electric. The venue was filled with community members, partners, and supporters, all eager to witness the culmination of months of hard work. The event featured keynote speeches, demonstrations of the tech hub's facilities, and interactive sessions where attendees could learn about the various programs and resources available. Jamal took the stage to deliver a keynote address. As he looked out at the audience, he felt a deep sense of pride and gratitude. He spoke passionately about the vision behind the tech hubs, the importance of access to technology, and the potential for change. His words resonated with the audience, and the response was overwhelmingly positive. The launch event was a resounding success, and the tech hubs quickly became vibrant centers of learning and innovation. Young people from the communities began to explore new possibilities, engage with mentors, and develop their skills. The impact of the initiative was visible in the enthusiasm and determination of the participants. In the weeks that followed, Jamal continued to be involved in the tech hubs, working closely with the teams to ensure the programs were running smoothly. He also took the opportunity to visit the various locations, meeting with the young people and hearing their stories. The experience was both rewarding and humbling, reaffirming his belief in the power of community and opportunity. Throughout this period, Jamal also continued to balance his personal life with his professional responsibilities. He maintained his connection with David and Tyler, seeking their guidance and support as needed. Their friendship and mentorship remained a cornerstone of his journey. As Jamal reflected on his experiences, he recognized the profound impact of bridging the worlds he had come from and the one he now inhabited. The journey from homelessness to becoming a leader in technology and advocacy had been filled with challenges, but it had also been marked by growth, resilience, and a commitment to making a difference. The road ahead was still unfolding, and Jamal remained dedicated to his mission of creating positive change. He continued to explore new opportunities for personal and professional development, always striving to build on the progress he had made. In the end, Jamal's story was one of transformation and hope. It was a testament to the power of perseverance, the importance of support, and the potential for change. As he looked towards the future, Jamal was filled with a sense of purpose and anticipation, ready to embrace the opportunities and challenges that lay ahead. The journey had been long and arduous, but it had also been deeply rewarding. Jamal had found his place in a new world, bridging the gap between his past and his future and making a meaningful impact along the way. His story was a reminder that no matter where one begins, it is possible to forge a new path and create a legacy of positive change. The horizon was bright, and Jamal was ready to continue his journey with determination, hope, and the promise of a new beginning.